In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 common mistakes people make when they're buying a presale in Vancouver. And after doing hundreds of presale contracts and talking to multiple buyers who made these mistakes, there's only one thing that I know is that they regret it and they would have saved thousands of dollars in damages if they hadn't made these mistakes. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Uzair Muhammad. I specialize in presales throughout the Lower Mainland, helping investors, first-time buyers, get into lucrative presale investments where you actually make money. So let's talk about these mistakes so you don't make them. Mistake number 1 is buying directly from the developer. If you think you can walk into a presentation center and get a better deal just because you don't have an agent, you don't know what you're buying. All you're buying when it comes to buying a presale contract is a piece of papers that you will hold for the next 3 to 4 years and a lot of hiccups through the project that you will not have anybody holding your hand through. What we have seen is every time we buy a presale contract, there's contract review, negotiation, structuring the deal properly, structuring the deposit structure properly, and then following through with the project to make sure it's on track. And if there's any hiccups, when can we cancel a contract? When can we get our clients out of the contract if there's any hiccups? All these things will be unknown to you if you buy directly from the developer. Once the developer's project is sold, the sales rep that you were talking to is probably going to a different project. If they're a marketing team, if they're an in-house team, they're probably going to a different site. So you're not going to be able to call somebody and say, hey, what's happening with this? Even though they might be able to give you an update. But the thing is, you need somebody to hold your hand for the next 3 to 4 years. And the representation by an agent is free. It doesn't cost you anything. So hire an agent, and most importantly, hire somebody who knows the presale market. We walk into projects a lot of times where we know the purchase price at the beginning of the project launch was $100 a square foot cheaper than what it is selling now. And we tell our clients, no, let's not buy into this. It's too late. Not worth buying into. And I'll dig deeper into it on a different video. But there's lots and lots of reasons why you need an agent to represent you. Not any agent, somebody who understands the presale market. This alone will save you thousands of dollars down the road if the agent that you hire is actually reputable and they have knowledge and they have expertise in the field. Mistake number 2 is buying into a project that's already pre-sold to 70 or 80%. What do I mean by that? When a project comes to market, a developer has to go through a selling phase and hit a certain criteria for a lender to lend them money. So a developer launches a presale project. Let's take, for example, $900 blended cost in the beginning stage, and then they raise it up to $950 a square foot, and then they reach $1,000 a square foot by the time they get to 80% sales ratio. So what happens is people that bought at $900 a square foot are the ones that are making money. Now, once they hit 70 or 80% sales ratio, the lender is going to give them financing. They're confident in their building permit. Now, all the units that are held back after they got their building permit and financing are basically held back units. They can hold these units until completion. They don't have to sell these. They're not motivated. They're going to jack up the prices through the entire sales phase. And then by the time you walk in after 80% sold, you're paying a premium. And the only time I would let a client buy into any of these projects is if they're moving into the project. Otherwise, it's not worth buying in. It's not an investment. You're probably not going to make any money. And then you're going to call your agent back and say, hey, I didn't make any money, because they didn't advise you properly. Don't buy into a presale project that's already 70 or 80% sold. Mistake number 3 is buying a presale unit for the sole purpose of flipping it. Doesn't matter what the contract says. If the contract says that you're allowed to do an assignment, doesn't mean you're going to get approval from the developer for this assignment, even if you have a buyer on the table. So a lot of times people think that if the contract says there's an assignment fee and the developer will allow assignments, there's so many conditions in the assignment clause. So if you look at the clause, it says the developer has to sell 90% of the units. It's not every project, but I've seen up to 95% of the units have to be sold. And if the developer doesn't want to allow assignments, they will hold back 4 units and they're just at 90% sold. Now they have a reason to reject your assignment, even if you have a buyer on the table. So if you're buying a presale for the sole purpose of flipping it, don't buy it. It's a gamble and you're probably going to lose money. And on completion, you're probably going to be pissed off because even though you're making money, you can't assign it. And now you have to close on it. And after closing on it, you don't plan on holding it and you're going to get into this mess. So if you're buying a presale, don't buy it for the sole purpose of flipping it. We don't ever buy a presale contract if the client's intentions are for the sole purpose of flipping it, because that's not our strategy. We don't buy into that stuff. These mistakes will save you thousands of dollars if you just pay attention to them. There's so much money to be made in the pre-construction market if you do it right. There's a lot of people on the internet that are talking about presales, that the presales are dead. They're not looking in the right place. I will tell you right now, 8 out of 10 presale projects are not worth looking at. Either overpriced, the completion days don't match our criteria, deposit structure is too high, it just doesn't make sense. The other 20%, even those ones, we have to get in at the right time frame. We don't even get into projects at public launch anymore. We're getting into presale projects that are selling pre-launch. That's where the money is. So you have to really understand the only way you will make money in any presale investment is buying the cheapest unit at the best price point in the entire building, because every other neighbor in your building is going to pay higher prices and developers are going to force the appreciation and they're going to help you make money. If you have any more questions around presales and how to make a lucrative investment into a presale project, I would love to work for you. Use the link in the bio. Let's book a call with me and I'll love to chat.